Talk to me for a moment about your own experience, healing experience with poetry and journaling.
So you asked me, how did this begin? And I said I started the program in 2004, but it came directly out of my own experience. I've always written in a journal as a way to feel better since I was 13. One time in 1998, in my journal out popped a poem, and it surprised me. And I loved it. It just opened up my love for learning about poetry, which was new to me. And so then at the same time, I was learning about spoken word poetry and really seeing the stories of marginalized communities shine through those stories of spoken word poetry. And so I took a sabbatical from St. Paul schools and spent the year studying and practicing what it would mean to merge my new love of poetry and my experience with how healing that was for me with my social work practice, and focused on the kids that I was working with at the time, which were African-American young men. I just knew that my own experience with writing as a way to manage my emotional health, to understand myself, to heal, poetry, spoken word poetry, hearing the stories of our other marginalized lives with a light shine toward growth and healing and hope would work. After that experience in 1998, I spent a couple of years kind of developing my ideas to merge poetry, spoken word writing, journal writing with my social work practice in a very intentional way, all rooted in my love of group work and my belief in how do we create communities for young people that very often are on the outside. When I was in my doctoral program, we were asked to write our teaching philosophy. Many of us in the cohort, we all were already teaching in higher education and social work, and none of us could very easily or adeptly articulate what our teaching philosophy was. And when I thought about who I was as an educator in higher education, I remember thinking, well, I never use a PowerPoint and I never do a lecture in my school. I must not be a very great teacher. But as I learned and found some language to talk about who I am as an educator and my philosophical underpinnings about what I think works, there's a word for who I am as an educator, and that is a constructivist. I'm a person who really thinks that we learn best when we can make meaning out of the material together. So as an instructor, if you walked by my classroom, you would see a lot of conversation between me and my students, that I would value their prior knowledge, that we would figure out and make meaning and do the learning together. In social work and in healing and in mental health, it's the same. If you walked by my office, if I were a therapist, you would see a whole lot of conversation, because I believe very much that healing and what my client needs is a space and a relationship in a container to make meaning of their stories, of their life experiences, of their challenges, of their potential. And I think the Poetry Lab is that ongoing conversation with young people.